Regardless of how you may have felt about the late Charlie Kirk, I believe there is one quote, one statement from Charlie Kirk that is undeniably accurate, 100% spot on, whether you agree with him often or whether you disagree with him entirely. One quote that he has been captured for saying that I don't believe is any room for debate whatsoever. Totally accurate. Here goes.
Let's be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price. And that is part of liberty. Driving comes with a price. 50,000 people die on the road every year. That's a price. You get rid of driving, you'd have 50,000 less auto fatalities. But we have decided that the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services, is worth the cost of 50,000 people dying on the road. Wow. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. Right. You can significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home, yes, by having more armed guards in front of schools. Yes. Yes. We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. Wow. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe.
Unfortunately, when he stated that it is worth it to have some gun deaths to protect our Second Amendment rights, I don't believe he ever thought that one of those deaths was going to be his own. Nevertheless, in this statement, this brief quote, he said a lot of things that I believe, and probably you too, are incredibly accurate. So without any hesitation, I'm going to say Charlie Kirk was right. Now, he said it with an armed citizenry, you're never going to get gun deaths down to zero. Is there anybody that disagrees with that? In a country of 360 million plus people, is there anyone that ever believes that in this country you'll ever get gun deaths down to zero as long as a hell of a lot of us remain armed? Never get it down to zero. Charlie Kirk is right. And he continues on by saying, you could limit gun deaths in this country, but he cites things like fathers in the homes and armed guards in schools. Oddly enough, considering how many conservatives believe one of the main problems we have in this country is with mental health, he does not name that. He does not name that. And I do believe that that should have been included in his statement. But unfortunately, many on his side of the aisle do not favor universal health care or some sort of entitlement funding coming from the government that covers mental health expenses. So for that reason, Charlie Kirk could not throw mental health in there, because to treat mental health is going to lead to taxpayer money covering people that cannot afford mental health treatment. So that should have been in there. But is there anybody that disagrees with what he said? You know, to maintain Second Amendment rights, you're going to have gun deaths. This weekend in America was horrible. This weekend was horrible. You always hear about violence in Chicago and how many gun deaths. You notice you don't hear anybody talking about how many mass shootings happened over the weekend. This weekend alone in North Carolina, we had a guy, Nigel Max Edge, pulled up to some sort of dockside restaurant and opened fire. They're playing music, they're eating food, they're having a good time in the middle of the night or late at night, and he pulled up and just started blasting everybody he could. Now, he ended up killing 3 people. He was charged with 5 additional accounts of attempted murder, so that probably means he shot 5 more people. And then he also was charged with 5 counts of assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill. So Nigel hit a lot of people. Now, a mass shooting is defined as 4 or more individuals that are shot, not including the shooter. We had 3 of those this weekend. We had 3 of those in less than 48 hours. In addition to what Nigel Max Edge did, everybody is talking about what Thomas Jacob Sanford did. You know, he is also 40 years of age, just like Nigel is. He is a Marine that served from 2004 to 2008, did a tour in Iraq, at least one. He drove to a Mormon church in Michigan, drove his pickup into the church, began blasting at the patrons, and then set the whole church on fire. Now, he took the life of at least 2 people, wounded 8 others, but there are still folks that are missing because the church was a total loss in the fire he set. He used accelerants to burn down a church, fairly large church, and there are people that are still missing, so his death toll is likely to go up. That's in the last 48 hours you had both of those. And then later that night down in San Antonio, just to color our commentary, 34-year-old Kiran Rashad Jones, or whatever his name is, Eagle Pass Casino, he too took the same route as the other 2 gentlemen. Went back into the casino blasting folks, took out 2 lives, and shot several others. So Charlie Kirk is absolutely spot on correct. If you give 360 million plus people access to firearms, do not require training, do not require any knowledge of what they're using, no tests, very little background check nowadays, you're going to have some people that get shot that does not deserve to be shot. Charlie Kirk is spot on about that. Not to mention rising mental health issues all over this country and the ease of accessing weapons. You throw all of those things into the mix, and it's hard to deny what Charlie Kirk said is being accurate. You want to maintain Second Amendment rights, you got to be willing to accept some people getting shot. You want to have cars on the road, anybody over 18, as long as they can show they can drive, can get a driver's license, you're going to have some accidents. You're going to have some car crashes. You're going to have some auto fatalities. That's part of the game. But what do you think? If you could lower gun deaths in this country by at least placing limits on your Second Amendment rights, would you entertain that? Would you be willing to entertain limits on your Second Amendment rights if you thought it could bring down, or better yet, limit some of the gun deaths? And there are some areas where, listen, at the end of the day, there are some crimes that are almost impossible to commit without a gun, such as a drive-by. What are you going to use, a crossbow? You're going to drive up in the hood, throw grenades out the window? There are some crimes. If you're a 13-year-old and you want to blast all your classmates, how are you going to do that without a gun? You could probably take a sharp instrument, but most of them would run away in different directions. So I do want to ask, if you could limit some gun deaths, would you entertain at least placing some limits on your Second Amendment rights? Or do you agree 100% with Charlie Kirk that as a condition of having Second Amendment rights, we should be willing to accept some people getting shot and killed in this country? Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, feel free to smash that like button, subscribe to the damn channel. See you in the next video.